Hello.
Hello. Hello. We have not yet started the hearing. We'll start in a moment. Thank you. You can mute yourself with *6.
The broadcast of the regular meeting of the Planning Commission will now begin.
Thank you very much. I will call to order the September 8th, 2020 City of Minneapolis Planning Commission hearing. The time is now 4:31, and we'll begin by checking for quorum, asking the clerk to call the roll.
Caprini, Dunick, Smiley, Lipke-Pierre,
Here.
Marwa, Meyer,
Here.
Olson,
Here.
Schrader,
Here.
Sweezy,
Here.
and Rockwell. So we do have 6 commissioners present, which is more than quorum.
Very good. We have quorum. Next, I'll ask commissioners for a motion to accept the minutes of the August 17th, 2020 Planning Commission hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Olson.
Second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
I'll note that Raya is here. So Smiley.
Aye.
Lipke-Pierre,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
Sweezy.
Aye.
That's 6-0.
Hi. That motion. Hello. Please mute yourself. We're still organizing the agenda. Our next order of business is to organize the agenda for today's hearing. For those of you on the phone, we will walk through each of the agenda items, and if you wish to testify on an item, please let us know. Sorry, I'm just reading quick. Please let us know so that we can discuss that item. Otherwise, we may approve an item on consent. So our first item on the agenda is item number 4, the Linden Hills Dentistry at 4246 Upton Avenue South in Ward 13, a non-conforming use expansion. Is there anyone on the line wishing to testify on item number 4? If there is, please unmute yourself by hitting *6 and let us know.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Are you here to testify on item number 4?
For item number 4, correct. Yes.
All right, we will place item number 4 on the discussion agenda. Item number 5 is Uptown Lofts at 1219 West 31st Street in Ward 10. We will continue item number 5 to the October 5th City Planning Commission hearing. But is there anyone on the line who has joined us to testify on this item, item number 5? The Uptown Lofts. *6, unmute yourself. All right. Very good. There's no one on the line for that item. Item number 5, Uptown Lofts, will be continued to the October 5th, 2020 City Planning Commission hearing. Item number 6 is Turbo Tim's at 2650 2nd Avenue Northeast in Ward 1. Is there anyone wishing to testify on item number 6? And I will note for item number 6, Turbo Tim's, that there is an amended staff memorandum that was issued earlier today. So a slightly different staff memorandum, item number 6. Anyone on the line wishing to testify on Turbo Tim's? No one will place Turbo Timms, item number 6 on the consent agenda. Item number 7 is the Dinkytown mixed use at 407 15th Avenue Southeast, 1412 and 1428 5th Street Southeast, and 1413 and 1417 4th Street Southeast, and 416 14th Avenue Southeast in Ward 3. My understanding is there are folks on the line to testify for item number 7. So we will discuss item number
I would
7.
like to say something, yes.
Very good. Item number 7 is on our discussion agenda. Item number 8 is
Barbara Cam for item number 7.
sorry, I got muted there for a moment. Item number 8 is PPL Bloom Lake Flats 3010 to 3060 16th Avenue South in Ward 9. Number of items there. Is anybody wishing to testify on item number 8? Press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Minneapolis City Planning.
Four registered. Is anybody wishing to testify on item number 8? Press star 6 to unmute yourself if you wish to testify on item number 8, the PPL Bloom Lake Flats. All right, I don't believe we have anyone for item number 8. We'll place item number 8 on consent. Item number 9 is 5200 34th Avenue South in Ward 12. Number of applications there. Is anybody wishing to testify on item number 9? Please let us know. Press star 6 to unmute yourself and let us know.
Yes.
All right, we have someone wishing to testify on item number 9. We'll place that on our discussion agenda. And then item number 10, that Gordon Center Emergency Shelter at 2220 16th Avenue North in Ward 5. That application, although listed on the LIMS agenda as continuance, has been withdrawn per an updated notice. So that item will be withdrawn. All right, so our agenda as amended is we'll discuss items number 4, 7, and 9. Items number 6 and 8 are on the consent agenda. We will continue item number 5 to October 5th, City Planning Commission hearing, and item number 10 has been withdrawn. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? We have a motion. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. All right. Next, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items, which are items number 6 and 8, noting that there is an updated memo for item number 6 that was updated today.
We need to open the public hearing on the consent agenda items as well.
Oh, that is right. I'm sorry. I will open the public hearing on the consent agenda items. Is anyone wishing to testify on consent agenda items? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. This is a Smiley.
With a motion, do we have a second?
Second, Schrader.
We have a motion
Second,
and a
Vicky
second.
Peer.
Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Smiley,
Aye.
Vicky Peer,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
Sweezy.
Aye.
That's 6-0.
Very good. That motion carries. Next, could I have a motion to continue item number 5 to the October 5th City Planning Commission hearing?
So moved, Olson.
Second, Smiley.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Smiley,
Aye.
Lipke-Peer,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
Sweezy.
Aye.
6-0.
Very good. That motion carries. Next up, could I have a motion to accept the withdrawal of item number 10?
Motion, Lipke-Peer.
Second, Olson.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Smiley,
Aye.
Lipke-Peer,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
Sweezy.
Aye.
6-0.
Very good. That motion carries. And we'll now move on to our discussion agenda for today. First item up is 4246 Upton Avenue South, item number 4. Staff is Peter Crandall. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before, I'm happy to go into an explanation of this item, but I just wanted to clarify if the person on the line is the applicant or someone from the public wishing to speak to the staff recommendation.
Peter, this is Rick Ferraro, and I am of Spectrum Sign Systems, and I am the applicant, and perhaps there was a misunderstanding. Was this on the consent agenda?
Yes, it was slated to be on the consent agenda. So unless there are concerns from the Planning Commission members, we can just move forward with approval of the item, or if there are questions, I'm happy to answer that. But just wanted to confirm that there was no one from the public wishing to speak against the staff recommendation, and that the applicant is okay with the staff recommendation as well.
Yes, we would like to proceed with the staff's recommendation, and I'm sorry for the misunderstanding.
No problem.
And to clarify, you were the one that spoke up when I was working through the agenda?
That is correct.
All right, very good. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on item number 4? Okay. Hearing none, then commissioners, do I have a motion to approve item number 4, which is a non-conforming use application, item A, for an illuminated monument sign?
Motion to approve the expansion of a non-conforming use application, Lipke-Peer.
All right, we have a motion, Commissioner
Second.
Smiley.
Second,
We have a motion
Smiley.
and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? All right, very good. Clerk, please call the roll.
Smiley,
Aye.
Lipke-Peer,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
Sweezy.
Aye.
6-0.
Very good. That motion carries. Our next item is item number 7, the Dinkytown Mixed Use Project. Staff is Lindsay Silas. Lindsay, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Chair Rockwell and committee members. I do have a presentation if IT could pull that up for me. So you'll recognize this project. It came through last year for a proposal on the this site, except excluding one of the parcels, 416 14th Avenue Southeast. So that previous proposal came to the Planning Commission The Planning Commission and Zoning and Planning Committee had denied the proposed FAR variance and site plan review as part of that application, which was the appeal at the Zoning and Planning Committee was denied on February 6th. So the applicant has made revisions at this time. The site now includes 6 parcels, 407 15th Avenue Southeast, 412 and 428 5th Street Southeast, 1413 and 1417 4th Street Southeast, and 416 14th Avenue Southeast. And so that just includes the parcel with frontage on 14th Avenue Southeast, in addition to the other parcels that were included previously. The site is now almost 2 acres. It has frontage on all 4 of the surrounding streets, 4th, 15th, 5th, and 14th. The remainder portion of the block not included in the development is occupied by 1- and 2-story buildings that are part of the Dinkytown Historic District. And the site does have split zoning with most parcels Zone C1, but 1 parcel Zone C2. Next slide, please. Next slide, if you can. So the applicant has proposed a new mixed-use building of 7 stories, or sorry, it's a new planned unit development of 7 stories. The site has a significant grade change between 4th Street Southeast and 5th Street Southeast. And so on 4th Street, the proposed building would read as 6 stories, but on 5th Street, it would be 7 stories. And you'll see in the floor plans that there are, because the 5th Street elevation is kind of built into a grade, there's kind of 1.5 stories of parking there. So the big changes from when this came through previously is there is an additional parcel included, and the building height is now 7 stories versus 10 stories, which came before. In addition, the proposed floor area ratio on the current proposal is 4.56, and the proposal that was denied earlier this year was 6.04. So the following applications are required: rezoning the entire site to C3A, conditional use permit to establish a new planned unit development. The applicant has proposed alternatives for height, FAR, parking and loading, and building placement in the PO district. An alteration of non-conforming use to allow the McDonald's to relocate or reestablish in the new building. Variance to increase the maximum floor area ratio. They are asking for the alternative, but they also need an additional variance above that as well. Site plan review and then preliminary plat. Next slide, please. For the planned unit development, the applicant has requested the alternatives listed. The amenities proposed include active liner uses as part of a parking garage, LEED Silver certification, plaza, pedestrian improvements that mainly consist of a through block pedestrian connection, shared vehicles, and a recycling storage area. Next slide, please. So this is the site in question. Next slide. And here's the site plan. So you'll see that the vehicular access has changed compared to the previous proposal with the addition of the new parcel with frontage on 14th. The applicant has proposed an additional one-way drive along 14th. It's a bit of a unique situation. They proposed bollards at that location and a kind of pedestrian-friendly paving material to allow that space to function as a patio and pedestrian walkway, depending on needs of whatever businesses go near into those spaces. And then there is a pedestrian through block connection here shown kind of from 4th to 5th. And as well, there will be vehicle connections there as well. And then at the bottom right corner, you'll see the plaza, which is currently it's currently in that same location because it's located on the Hennepin County Bridge that's at that corner of the site, and the applicants proposed to provide a plaza there as required by Chapter 535. Next slide. So there's one level of underground parking under the main portion of the site that's fully underground. And next slide. And as mentioned previously, because the site is on a grade, they are able to have another level of partial underground parking that is then lined by the retail along 5th. Next slide. And then there would also be retail at the 4th Avenue or 4th Street Southeast side. So there would be retail fronting on 4th, 15th, and 5th that would have the retail would have a access at the corner and then along 14th. Next slide. And this is just showing upper level plan. Next slide. And another typical upper level plan. Next slide. Oh, that's good. So the building, as it takes up 3/4 of the block, the applicant has proposed to define the building as kind of 3 separate buildings with the main location on each corner. Next slide. And you'll see again here, so they have proposed brick on the facades that are immediately adjacent to the Dinkytown Historic District. And those are a little bit easier to see in the renderings as well. Next slide. So here's a rendering of that through block connection that's proposed at the block. So this is at 5th Street. Next slide. And then here is the transition between the 14th Avenue Southeast side and the building in the Historic District. Next slide. I think I was missing a couple of renderings there, but I think the applicant has submitted renderings in their presentation as well. So the site guidance for this site is community mixed use in corridor 6. So community mixed use areas are designated for large scale mixed use development with commercial uses fronting on major streets. Both 4th and 15th are goods and services corridors here. And then corridor 6 allows for 6 stories in height with additional height evaluated based on whether it's a reasonable means to achieve comprehensive plan goals. So the previous, as I mentioned, the previous plan submitted for the site, which was denied in February by the Zoning Planning Committee, proposed a 10-story building with a 6.0 for FAR. The current proposal is a 7-story building. The applicant is proposing to establish it as a PUD as a way to evaluate their requested alternatives and amenities for compliance with the comprehensive plan goals. They have proposed on-site production of inclusionary housing, as well as LEED silver, shared vehicles, active liner uses, things that are the proposed amenities as part of the PUD that staff has also determined would further achieve comprehensive plan goals to justify the height increase. So the current proposal for the 7-story building with a 4.56 FAR is in line with the guidance from Minneapolis 2040 and is also in line with the likely upcoming changes to the zoning code in terms of height and bulk. Next slide. And so staff is recommending approval of all applications with the stated conditions, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, are there any questions? Staff at this time. Commission. I've got some echo here. Nothing worse than my own voice twice. Commissioner Schrader.
Thank you, Chair. Lindsay, thanks for the report. Just had a couple questions. Kind of first on when we saw this project go through before, they had some pretty good amenities around environmental sustainability. Am I correct in assuming that this time they just went down to LEED silver?
So when they came through previously, they had discussed sustainability strategies, but they had not decided on any firm strategy. So I think that they had some general ideas of how they would accomplish that, but in this application, they are proposing to do the LEED silver certification.
Okay, thank you. My second question, and on the Dinkytown Historic District, so there's no, am I correct in understanding there's no step down, there's no kind of way that it mix in when because it's butting up right against the historic district, but they are just changing the material to brick?
So, you know, and I thought I had included some better renderings in this presentation, but hopefully the applicant will have those to show you. But the along 4th Street Southeast, they do have kind of they have recessed the majority of the building mass back from this kind of 2-story brick section to allow for transition between that and the historic district. They have done a bit on the 14th Avenue side, though not quite as much. So there is a one-story brick base, and then for maybe one structural bay, the upper stories are set back a slight amount where that portion of the building borders the historic district. So they have done some things with massing and materiality to provide a transition there.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, are there any other questions of staff at this time? All right, seeing none, thank you, Lindsay. We'll open the public hearing and ask the applicant to introduce themselves and add any further context that you wish.
Yes, hello, this is Ryan Stowe with CA Ventures, part of the development team. I'm also joined by Rob Mueller and Chris Palkowitz, who will be walking through these. If we could pull up the slides that were submitted, we can run through those. I don't have a screen, so I'll just have to go off of what we have. And Commissioner Schrader, to address your comment about sustainability, we are going to be providing all of those that we presented back in the February meeting. So that had a lot to do with also operational, not just development. So as far as the development strategy for LEED, that is in place, solar panels. But there's also the operational, the well program that we will be implementing as well. With that, I'll just dig right in. Chris and Rob, are you with us here?
Yes, this is Chris, I'm here.
Great. So I'll just run through quickly the benefits. Still the same program that we discussed at Committee of the Whole, and offering affordable housing, the first student affordable housing, which we established with Councilmember Schrader and Councilmember Fletcher, and implementing that. So this will help impact more students in this way, just because of how the development works. It works better in this format to help more students. The affordable retail is still part of this development, and the sustainability, as I just discussed. The traffic and curb cuts, we're reducing 7 down to 3, and that third one that we discussed on 14th, we'll kind of go through here in a little bit. Removing another surface parking lot from the area and still providing district parking, car share. We have a great opportunity here with this through alley to really implement some great public art as well. And then, which will also help with some other areas. The public plaza we'll go through real quickly, and just kind of running down the list, the same ones we had before. We have security for the area that will show, and we also have bicycle and residential amenities on the perimeter of the building. So Chris, do you want to go through the site plan in a little more detail?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ryan. Hi, all. I'm Chris Palkowitz. I'm an architect with BKV Group, located in Minneapolis, 222 North 2nd Street. Please go to the third slide.
Yeah, if you could tell us what slide you want us to be on, we'll do that.
Yeah, maybe
so
just
now
stop
we're
at
on
the
that
second slide. Yeah, maybe go to
Yep.
the second slide for just one moment, just so people can see that. Those are the public benefits that Ryan was speaking of, and it just shows a few more of the renderings that I know Lindsay had kind of gone through them rather quickly, but you have more in your packet as well. But just give a little feel for some of the street edges and attention to detail on all sides of the building. That we really had to design it as very little back face of this whatsoever. Okay, go ahead and proceed to 3, and I'll talk a little site plan here. So thank you. As we were working through the process with this project, there's quite a balancing act of different interests on the site, of the 2040 plan and neighborhood concerns and public works concerns and Metro Transit's thoughts as well for some of the busways. So we're really looking to balance things overall, and then just making sure that our building functions and the existing commercial buildings function as well. So as Ryan mentioned, we're going from 7 curb cuts down to 3. And what we have is on the south end of the building, on 4th Street, we have an in only at that point. And there's a few reasons for that. That, as you can see, our green dashed line going all the way to the north is really our primary loading route through this, and it will be more of a one-way for the loading trucks. And we didn't want any traffic going out onto 4th Street as there's so many pedestrians and bicyclists, and we also heard that from neighbor concerns and city staff concerns as well. As you go up to 5th Street, we have two-way traffic there, as it's a little less travel. That will give a little more opportunity for the in and out into our parking structure, and it give a little more access to the rear of the neighboring buildings as well. On the 14th side, when we were at committee of the whole, we previously had the 14th side that we had it as two-way traffic on the 14th side, and we heard some pretty good feedback previous at committee of the whole to rethink that concept. And what we've done is we've turned it into a limited entry point for about 2/3 of that travel distance. You can see the number 7 on there from the red striped line to the red striped arrow to the number 7. And it would be limited access for events, or if there was maybe some construction type of pieces going on, but building management would control those ballers, and the anticipation is that it'd be very rarely opened. The space would be used more as extensions of the retail spaces or opportunities if there are events in Dinkytown, that it could be open to those as farmers markets or art fairs or other opportunities like those through that space. And really that last third of the gray area is just so that there can be access to the 20 parking stalls that are in the northwest portion of the building there. It's up at grade, but shielded by the retail on the sides. And then there's pedestrian access and an 8-foot sidewalk throughout the space here as well, that we know college students are going to make their way through there. So we've designed it filled with murals and light and safety and other things that we'll show you in a moment here. And the only other thing I want to point out is down at number 3, we are providing, as similar to the previous design, a public plaza as another pedestrian amenity to the site. And we're continuing to work with the county on refining the details as it is on top of a bridge. So we're a little limited in amount of trees and other things, but we're looking at kind of creating raised boxes, garden boxes above the bridge, and we're kind of looking through some of the details of that right now. But I think it's going to be a real great space. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, one more item on that previous slide, that the existing commercial buildings do use, we'd heard some concern from the neighborhood groups that 4th Street, having an access at 4th Street was a concern to them. But the existing commercial buildings to the west use that access right now and own half of it's not a city alleyway, it's private land, and they own half of that access. So we're continuing to provide them access and provide ourselves access as well. Okay, next slide, please. We're just showing a little more closely at 4th Street, all of the different activity going on, and that we're very sensitive to what's going on with the different bus stops that are there and the vehicle routes and bicycle routes. And that's why we maintained it as a one-way in. We have no out access there. And then page 5, please, of the slideshow is showing a little bit of details of our through block connection analysis of the first portion of it is sightlines, that by having this as more of a T shape than just an alley, it allows a lot more eyes to be seen and a lot more opportunity, that there's not going to be creepy corners through the back of this. The second portion of this is we're going to have it very well lit, and you can see the lighting all around, and that's taken from our photometric to show some of where the warm spots are. And then the building will have 24-hour management and surveillance cameras throughout here as well. In case something is occurring, there would be record of it and opportunity for staff to intervene or, call for more services at that point as well. So we've definitely given quite a bit of look into this space, as we've heard good comments from neighbors and from the neighboring buildings of how we should really be thinking about this. With that, I'll pass it to Rob to speak about the exterior.
Hi, everyone. Rob Muller. I'm also with BKV. Could you go to slide number 6? So we can see in the lower left, what we've been trying to do is find compromises between the goals of the neighborhood, the goals of the project, and the goals of the 2040 plan. In the lower left, you can see an exhibit regarding Corridor 6 in the 2040 plan, and the idea of creating a street wall at the property line of the building, as opposed to providing significant setbacks. And in the upper left, you can see our original response to this, which we worked through with staff to find a common ground where we were matching the material character of the historic district, but also giving this street wall its due. In the upper right was a response to our meetings with the neighborhood association, which had the question of how do we create something with a bigger setback that really shows the correct scale at the street. So what we did was reduce the amount of masonry in the upper levels so that the first level would have more prominence and really be the guiding force of the scale of that building. When you're walking along the street, that's going to be the prominent characteristic. The zones in white at the far right are zones where we have set the building back even further than it was set back previously, in order to allow that mass to step down as it approaches the historic district. In the lower right, you can see an example of the street section, and the neighboring building is on the left in gray. The new building is on the right in blue and yellow. The street is quite broad, and it provides a 1-to-1 ratio plus of width to height. So there's going to be a significant amount of natural light coming into that street, and the imposing character is mitigated by that fact. Go to the next slide, please. Number 7.
Rob, I want to add one additional piece of information on that slide, if you could stay there for a moment. On the upper floors of that, the building is stepped back 5 feet from the face, and then that white area in the upper right-hand image is stepped back even further from that, so that we do have stepping and working it down towards the historic character. And I think we have a slide of that coming up.
That's right. So on slide number 7, one of the comments from staff and from the neighborhood was about providing variety and interest along the street in terms of the different heights. And what we've done is we've introduced these masonry pavilions that have a lower scale to them than the overall building, which the upper levels, as Chris mentioned, are stepped back, so that the real feel at grade and when you're walking through the neighborhood is of these masonry portions of our building that match up with what's happening in the historic district. If you want to just go to slide number 8, we can walk through some of the imagery. I think these renderings tell a good story of what our efforts are in terms of creating this really wonderful streetscape. The buildings are highly articulated in masonry, particularly at the ground floor where they're going to be most experienced by the public. If you go to slide number 9, you can see there's a rhythm established of a 1 and then 2, and those 2 bay zones that are divided by that dark reveal That is a reflection of some of the more narrow existing building facades. So we're proposing a rhythm of facades that can relate to those existing buildings, and we would envision different retailers within each of those bays potentially, and different experiences, so that you would have a variety of character marching along in this new building as is happening in the neighbors. Lindsay, slide number 10, Lindsay had already walked through. This is a passage through our through block connection. You can see the low-rise masonry element projecting out on the left. We've created this on 14th and on 5th as a means of overly emphasizing this lower scale on the first floor. We've also are proposing to do artwork as you pass through that through block connection. Artists to be determined, but the idea being that this is going to be a very vibrant, exciting addition to the neighborhood. Working around to slide 11 on 4th and 15th. There is, again, this reference to masonry of different heights and characteristics. This is something we worked very closely with staff to understand what was the best way to fit in with the neighborhood and provide an amenity for the pedestrians and the inhabitants. The entire facade here has an atrium, or sorry, an arcade that projects back from those masonry walls, providing shelter and a bit of relief from the consistent facade frontage. If you go to slide number 12, this is a slide that tells a good story about how the building steps down as it works its way toward the existing historic district. That ground floor sliding out to the right, even further to the right, and also the gray area stepping back 10 feet from that facade at the ground floor. And then the last slide, slide number 13, shows that we have taken a significant amount of the mass of this building and positioned it on the corner of 5th and 15th, where it was directly opposite of the main historic district corner. So it does not become a part of that area. So those are the exhibits we have to discuss the exterior.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, are there questions for the applicant at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Hold on one second. There's a question from Commissioner Meyer.
Sorry, I was just expecting Ryan to also be speaking, but okay, so one of you said that you thought that the entrance on 14th Avenue would only need to be used for events and construction, correct? Like, about how many days of the year would you anticipate that to be?
Yeah, that's correct. As far as predicting how many days, I wouldn't know. That'd have to be an operational question. It would not be used often.
It would not be what?
It would not be used often.
Okay. Did you have any depiction of that in your presentation, like of what that would look like with the bollards up or anything?
Yes. If we go to slide number 12, that's where the sidewalk would be. The bollards are obscured by the people that are standing within the area, but the strategy is that underneath that projection, you could have the retail neighbor, have some outdoor space there. It could alternatively be used for a farmer's market or an art fair or any other number of things. So we're looking to create a really dramatic space inside of that zone and clearly delineate that as a pedestrian area that every once in a while would be used by vehicles. For example, on move-in days where maybe there's just an overwhelming amount of moving trucks trying to get people into the building, there may need to be a time period when that would happen. Also, after hours, when people are not there, that the trucks may need to pass through there.
Okay, so looking at this image, okay, we've got Blarney's on the right, we've got the gap in between, and then your entrance is the first area, like underneath the building?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
And it's open along the gap between our building and Blarney's, so the sunlight will come through that arcade there. It's essentially an arcade that's open on three sides.
Got it. And what kind of materials are you using? Like Lindsay said, pedestrian-friendly materials. What materials does that mean?
So typically we'd have an asphalt or a concrete street there. This would be a paver system or a stamped concrete system, so that it was very clearly distinguished from where people would drive. Also, we would reinforce that with a soft curb, so that the sidewalk along 14th would be continuous at the same elevation. People would not be stepping down into a street zone and then stepping back up when they get to the other side. So defining that area as pedestrian by its elevation above the typical street.
I missed a word before stamped concrete. What the thing you said before that? The what system? The materials were made out of?
Paver system. Potentially some sort of paver system.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
this is Chris. I think we're highly likely to be more of a stamped concrete. We don't want to overcommit.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have some more comments on that later, but I'll let the public hearing first.
Very good. Commissioners, are there any other questions for the applicant at this time? All right, seeing on, we'll move on to public testimony. I will call folks' names. We have a list of folks who have signed up to testify. And then at the end, if you're not on the list, we will open it up. There are a number of people wishing to testify, so please keep your testimony to the applications before us, and please try not to repeat points that folks have brought up earlier, because we will have already heard them. So first up is Barbara Cam. If you're on the line, please unmute yourself by hitting *6 and go ahead.
My name.
Yes, sorry, you're breaking up. Please state your name and address for the record. We heard you for a moment.
My name is Barbara Cam. I live at 423 7th Street Southeast. I'm on the executive committee of the Marcy Homes Neighborhood Association, and I'll read from the letter we've written to the board. We've written to the commission, I'm sorry. We support CA Ventures applications for rezoning to C3A, the planned unit development, reestablishment of a non-conforming use, and variance of the FAR to 4.5. We recognize the community benefits of this project, eliminating a drive-through, surface parking lots and curb cuts, and adding pedestrian and bicycle amenities. However, we do not support the application for site plan review. A number of our continuing concerns were not addressed in the revised plans. We request the following improvements to provide a more pedestrian-friendly experience in Dinkytown and to respect and align with the built form and character of the adjacent commercial historic district. The vehicular entrance from 4th Street still poses a danger to pedestrians and bicyclists and would create more traffic on an already busy car and bus route with additional vehicles from the CA Ventures project. The future welcome addition of the E-Line BRT would only exacerbate this problem. We suggest this entrance be eliminated. The massing of the building on 4th Street and even more on 14th Avenue overwhelms the Dinkytown streetscapes by creating a canyon effect and shows little sympathy to the historic character of the block. We request a substantial step back of the top 3 or 4 stories, some variety in building heights and articulation of facades at ground level that recognizes the 40 to 60 foot width of most Dinkytown structures. See Adventures has addressed the through block connection with more lighting. We appreciate that. Also want to mention the grocery store, which they said they're pursuing. That is particularly important for students in the area. These comments reflect the interests of stakeholders across the board, students, business owners, renters, and homeowners, and would ensure the integrity and character of the adjoining commercial historic district. We request your consideration of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Ted Tucker. Please state your name and address for the record.
This is.
Well,
can you hear me now? Good afternoon, President Rockwell and Commissioners. I'm Ted Tucker, 319 5th Street Southeast in Minneapolis. In support of comments about mapping made by others, we just heard some from Barbara, I have sent you some diagrams from the 2014 Dinkytown, USA plan showing the desired step back of upper stories in new buildings. I hope staff is able to display this for you. It comes from a plan adopted by this commission and the Minneapolis City Council in 2014. The 2040 plan is supposed to integrate all previous small area plans, but comprehensive as it is, there is not the detail about use, character, and mapping that is found in a fine-grained small area plan. I still don't see my diagram, but perhaps it'll show up for the benefit of the commissioners to understand the step back.
It is.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Please think about the step backs in the plan as you consider if a 6-story building proposed for the corner of 5th Street and 14th Avenue Southeast really fits into the small scale context of Dinkytown. There we are. Thank you very much. A substantial setback such as the one you approved a few years ago for the venue across 14th Avenue would be much more appropriate. And I'd like to add, I thank the architects for including in their drawings a section across 14th Avenue. It shows the impact of the 6-story building on the street, and you can compare that to the more appropriate step back of the venue on the other side of 14th Avenue. Actually, the reason I wanted to speak was because of the concern about safety in the pedestrian-oriented district. I think we've covered that. The concern about the alley coming off of the entrance off of 4th Street to that alley. I know it's there right now, but it's used very little, just for a few businesses back there. As soon as it's opened up for access to the parking ramp and deliveries to this very large project, there'll be a lot more traffic coming off of 4th Street to cross a bike lane in front of a busy bus stop, and then have to negotiate heavy pedestrian traffic on the sidewalk. I think access for deliveries and the parking ramp would be much safer in this pedestrian area if the access were confined to 5th Street Southeast. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Bill Hunsicker is next. Star 6, unmute yourself. Bill Hunsicker, are you on the line? If you are speaking, we cannot hear you. Hello?
Okay, I've unmuted myself 3 times, I think.
There, now we can hear you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Okay, my name is Bill Hunsicker, 415 8th Street Southeast. I've lived here in this neighborhood for 50 years, and I wrote a book on Dinkytown. I sent you a picture to look at. Did you get that? Hello?
We are pulling it up right now, yes.
Okay, on the left, there's a three-story building. That's what used to be on that site. That's why one of the reasons Dinkytown is historic. The business on the left, which is the corner of 14th Avenue and 5th Street, was a bookstore, and the multicolored sign toward the right and behind the 1955 Buick is the Scholar, the famed coffee shop where Bob Dylan and others performed. anyway, that's the idea of the scale and the nature of that area historically. And despite all the talk from the developer on what they've done to respect the historic nature of 4th Street, they seem to have done nothing to support the historic nature of 14th Avenue. 14th Avenue and 5th Street is a key part of Dinkytown. And it looks like it's going to be, like Ted called it, a canyon. And you're discussing whether there'll be any sunlight at all coming into this area with this new building. And I think that with the new developments, we're not going to have any dinky in Dinkytown. And I'm concerned about losing the town part, where it's a friendly place to gather, where there's smaller businesses. And I want to have more articulation and more step backs on the upper levels. The venue across the street on 14th Avenue has done that quite successfully, we think, even though the neighborhood went kicking and screaming into that development. I think it's working out very well, and I would like to see these developers do as well. But I think they need more work. I think they've done some very nice aspects of this development, but I think they should spend a little more time on 14th Avenue and 5th Street. Thank you. Hello?
Good. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Next up is Allison Kerwin. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Is Allison Kerwin on the line? We cannot hear you. You can also check your own device's mute function. Allison Kerwin. We will circle back to Allison Kerwin. Next up is Kirsten Eid-Tollefson. If you are on the line, can we unmute you? *6 unmutes. State your name and address for the record.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. I'm Kristen Eid-Tollefson. My address would be 1316 4th Street Southeast. And I represent Preserve Historic Dinkytown, which was founded in 2014 to promote the character and multiple values of the historic small business district to its neighboring communities and its student population. My written comments, which I've provided to you, begin with an appreciation of the enormous output of public investments, of public monies, CPED, and civic engagement hours that have been spent over the last 7.5 years to give voice to the public will for the future of Dinkytown. And also for the investment that the city made in CPED and consultant time to create a study and complete the designation in 2015 as a Dinkytown Historic Commercial District. In addition, there are numerous comprehensive plan policies which note the public values of place, identity, and historic character. And so it's surprising that the staff report does not even mention the historic district in the lead description of surrounding properties and neighborhoods, and mentions it only twice in passing without consideration of impact. This development will redefine nearly a quarter of the 4 square block district. It will be the new gateway to Dinkytown. And so Preserve Historic Dinkytown supports the Marcy Holmes position on the project and requests your support for the appeal to CA Ventures for these specified design considerations. I'm not clear what the resistance is to more sensitive treatment, particularly of the 5th and 14th section. If you were to bring up a slide, I think 8 it was again, where there is the 4th and 14th views, I think you can see how the grid of brick climbing the street wall, it's 5th and 14th, is extremely overpowering. And the setbacks there, or step backs there, that are being requested, and with the venue as an example, are really incompletely dealt with. It really needs to create more of a step back and to enhance the scale and character of the surrounding uses. So in the preservation of views section, the staff notes only that the building will not block the views of the district from the pedestrian level. I don't think this is true of the corner of 5th and 14th. And given the height and massing proposed, it seems like it's not too much to request those setbacks that, as Marcy Holmes has proposed. I do want to comment on the plaza. I think that's a very exciting advocacy on the part of staff that it be included with a plan, and we've appreciated the willingness of the of CA Ventures to commit to a design, maintenance, and monitoring of this area, because a public space and gathering places are critical aspects of the value of Dinkytown to the student and larger community. We hope that this will continue to be worked on. It should be noted that the plaza is within the boundaries of the historic district. With reference to the public realm commitments of the city, we ask that you consider the two following requests in light of the city's commitment to proactively improve the public realm, including streets, sidewalks, parks, and open spaces. First, the public realm infrastructure in Dinkytown, as I'm sure you have noted, is sorely in need of upgrading. The sidewalks have not been done for many years and are pockmarked with gum residue and uneven surfaces, and the light posts are literally falling apart. New development will upgrade the north side of 4th Street, leaving the south side a deteriorating eyesore, and this is also true of 14th Avenue. So we request that you recommend a consideration of these infrastructure improvements to coordinate with pending development. And second, we hope that the portico pass-throughs and arcade features of the CA Venture project are creative public realm enhancements. And we hope that CPED and CA Ventures will continue collaborating and consider a process with public input for the design of the public plaza. This effort would enhance the integration of the project into the community and invest all interested parties in its use. So our goal of our testimony is to request that a broader recognition of the 2040 goals and policies, including policies 6093 and 100 having to do with intrinsic value of older properties and heritage preservation, will support the design request made by Marcy Holmes. Please keep in mind the unique identity of Dinkytown, that it's integral to its function of creating a sense of place and belonging to the student communities of the university and surrounding campuses, as well as the university district communities. This function is recognized in planning, environmental, academic, and architectural literature as critical to health and well-being, including academic performance. We look forward to working with all parties to integrate new investment with the historic character and values of Dinkytown. Thank you very much for your time and attention to our comments.
Thank you very much. Next up is Allison Kerwin on the line. All right, Allison again. All right, why don't we move to Matthew Paddock. Please state your name and address for the record. Unmute using *6. So Matthew Paddock on the line. All right, how about Jack Borman? Is there a Jack Borman on the line? Looks like Matthew Paddock has left the meeting. Allison Kerwin or Jack Borman? All right, is there anybody else wishing to testify? If so, please unmute yourself and let us know that you're here. *6 unmutes. You also may need to unmute your own device. Is there anybody wishing to testify remaining? Otherwise, we'll close the public hearing. I'm hearing that Kerwin and Borman are both in the meeting, just not able to unmute. So if you wish to speak, unmute yourself, *6. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, we have a number of applications before us. there any discussion, or does anyone have further questions for staff or the applicant? Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you. So I'm happy to see that this is going to be significantly reducing the number of curb cuts on that block from, I believe, 7 down to 3. I would have liked to see it go even further than that, down to 2 or 1 or even 0. The one on 14th Avenue was the biggest issue for me because, you know, at the park board, you know, we seasonally closed West River Parkway and Main Street and had a lot of issues with that because of curb cuts that were just installed like 15, 20 years ago, and made it really hard for us to be able to do that in the future. So I just wanted to, you know, really make sure that we don't inadvertently make it difficult to do that for 14th Avenue, because I think that block between 4th and 5th Street would be a great place to pedestrianize seasonally and let, you know, restaurants put out their tables. I was actually, you know, disappointed that it didn't happen this year, but I think it is definitely a likely prospect to happen in future years. So I just really wanted to begin with that, and you know, I wish that I could have had, you know, direct conversations with the developer, but I can't because that's, you know, an ex parte communication. But I just wanted to like make really sure that if the city were to do that, that the developer would be cooperative with that. Yeah, I just wanted to hear from the developer, like if it were to be pedestrianized, like seasonally, like do you think you could be able to work around that? Like if it was, if they wanted to pedestrianize it, say from the end of spring term to the beginning of fall term, so that, you know, you could still have your move in, move out days, would you still be able to work around that?
Yes, this is Ryan. Sorry. That certainly would work for us. It's only a benefit for us to have that as a pedestrian street. So we are fully on board with that.
Okay.
I think that's our goal too. So we can certainly work out a schedule or work within some guidelines that we can establish. So I look to the guidance of this commission to help us establish that.
Okay. And then for the one on 4th Street, the concerns that the neighborhood brought up in regard to that, like, I guess this is maybe a question for staff. Like, if BRT was put in there, would that be a problem with how things are structured? Like, have you been, you know, as you worked on this, you know, been preparing for a likely BRT route there? Is Lindsay still there?
Let the applicant respond to that, please.
Oh,
okay.
Sorry about that. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, are you anticipating, like, is this going to work with BRT? Like, I don't really know what changes BRT would bring to that spot there, but like, if BRT comes in, is that going to make it a lot harder for this to work?
My understanding is that 4th Street, because it has both BRT proposed and a protected bikeway, that yes, there would be additional conflicts as part of that, in addition to this being a really high traffic pedestrian area as well. So I know, I mean, there is a curb cut there already. Obviously, it's not serving this this development or this number of vehicles, but there is a curb cut there already. So my understanding is that, you know, even if the development did not propose to use that existing curb cut, that it would have to stay to serve the uses that it already does serve. And so I know that they are just proposing that it will be a one-way in for the vehicular traffic. But yes, you're correct that there will potentially be some conflicts, but the applicants, all these things are kind of phasing in the next several years. And so the applicant has been in conversation with Hennepin County and Metro Transit about designing the bus stops and designing the vehicular access and even like plaza and pedestrian amenities to make sure that they don't conflict with future plans. But yes, there would be more potential conflicts. However, even with I think the protected bikeway here is proposed to either be curb level or curb protected. So it's probably not a situation where cars are going to be in that bikeway, but potentially needing to cross the bikeway.
Okay, but because there's already
make a quick comment on that. That we won't be. It won't be for our access up to 4th. So our access will still go in and out of 5th for our building. We're just saying we can't control what our neighbors do, and we can't close down that access portion, is all we're saying. So we'll be going in and out with our entrance closer to 5th Street. So with all our residents and that parking there, we'll be utilizing that.
Okay, so your residents
and not the 4th.
Your residents come in and out on 5th, but not on 4th. And then occasionally they'll come in on 14th. And is that a two-way thing on 14th for those occasions, or is it just one way from 14th?
Well, on those occasions, we don't anticipate that being a traffic thing. That would only be for moving trucks or anything like that. So yeah, I guess that would be a one way. That they would come 5th and around and queue there.
Okay.
And that's just one example.
Okay, and then did I see trees on top of the McDonald's? You're putting like a garden on top of there, is that right?
Yeah, we'll have a little outdoor space that hasn't been programmed as a indoor-outdoor amenity overlooking the plaza there.
Okay, I thought that was a nice addition. All right, that was all for me.
Very good. Commissioner Lifke-Peer.
Yes, I just had a quick question for the applicant. I know when we, in the presentation, we were going through a lot of the elements, and one of the questions I had was related to the required findings for the PUD. And one of the requirements is related to the scale and character of the surrounding area. And I know we've kind of talked about the scale as things have changed in Dinkytown over the years, but I do want to know if they could possibly address the character in relation to the setback questions that were asked in the public comment period, because I am finding that to be a little bit of a sticking point in my mind in terms of it really doesn't seem to have the character of Dinkytown since everything is so flush with the streetscape. So if maybe the applicant could address that a little bit, because I'm finding that that finding to be a tough hurdle to get over.
I'll ask the applicant to address.
Yeah, I'll start off, and then Chris, you can join in here. Yeah, the main intention was really just aligning the two pieces with the 2014 Marcy Homes plan and the 2040 plan, and really just putting those two together and making that work. So those upper setbacks still stay within the 2040 plan, but still have some upper story relief, and then the brick facade, and then the spacing of those also playing on even one of the images that were shown earlier.
But what about the comments related to additional setbacks for the upper stories, though? Because I think that's where the disconnect is happening.
So if we were to set back those upper stories, then it wouldn't conform to the plan, the 2040 plan.
Yeah, I think.
So we wouldn't conform to one or the other. Please go ahead, Rob.
The goal of the 2040 plan, and we think it's a good one, is the definition of a street wall. And as the density of the area increases, there is going to be a new character created by the height of the street relative to the width of the street. These buildings are not tall. They are taller than the old historic district, and we we're looking to the future and to the past at the same time. So we're trying to respond to what the 2040 plan is saying, which we think is a positive. There are many cities in the country and in the world where this creates a very, very high quality street experience. And we are also trying to relate to the character of those old buildings by creating these low-rise masonry elements that have a common material with that historic character, that have a common scale with that historic character, that have divisions in them that allow for the breakdown and the individuality of these buildings to work across the street from one another. So it's really just an effort to make a compromise that will be a benefit to the area because of the active uses that are going to be there as opposed to parking lots and curb cuts and the new activity of the tenants. And it's,
I mean, I hear all that,
Yeah,
and I get your point about the masonry, but I wonder at some points there's not much of a reveal. And at some of the facades, it looks like on 4th, it's 8 to 10 feet where it steps back, but on other facades, it just looks like it's and maybe that's just the limited renderings we've seen. It looks like a matter of less than a foot, which really doesn't give the same appearance. It's just changing the color of the box. So I'm just wondering if there's more of an opportunity there to kind of tie it into the fact that it is adjacent to a really unique historic district, and I know that it's in and of itself not in the district, but I do wonder if I know you talked about a high quality streetscape and whatnot, but this there is a character here that we have to kind of take into consideration. I mean, otherwise this building could go anywhere, which defeats the point of it being in this area.
Well, I think this is Chris to respond to that. We have different conditions on the different sides. So along 4th Street, you can see we have a more significant step back over 10 feet on that side. Along 15th, I think it's less of an issue overall. And then coming over to 14th, I think that seems to be the area more in question. And we have step back the upper portion of the building 5 feet, and we have an additional step back as it comes back when you get next to the Blarneys at that point. It certainly could go more, but we thought this is a successful balance between some of the existing buildings we're seeing and some of the historic buildings as well.
And
Yeah.
Did you have some comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment about the small area plan that was shared during public testimony. So while that was adopted previously, all the guidance from small area plans have been integrated into the 2040 plan, and there's no requirement in the 2040 plan that requires the same significant quantity step backs for every story above the first. I know that the Dinkytown small area plan or Marcy Home small area plan did really specifically call out that the upper level should be set back 8 feet for every story above the first, and that is not something that made it into the 2040 plan. That's not guidance that still applies to the site. So and then we're kind of, as far as the other guidance for the site, this isn't a pedestrian-oriented overlay district. I know that you're mostly talking about the upper floors, but in general, as far as the first floor of the building, we do have guidance that states that should be as close to the property line as feasible.
Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, I wasn't concerned about the ground story, and I totally get how the small area plans were selected and integrated and whatnot. I was just mainly concerned with the PUD requirement that it address the scale and character of the surrounding area, especially given its historic and really unique reputation and character. So that was my primary concern, and I guess I would echo what the community members were saying related to the setback on 14th being increased a little bit would be, I think, more of a nod to the character than not. 5 feet's not a lot when you're talking about a 6 or 7 story building. So.
All right, commissioners, are there other comments or questions for staff, or would somebody like to start us off with a motion? Commissioner Meyer.
I move to approve items A, B, C, D, E, and F with the 12 stated conditions.
We have a motion and a second on items, approving items A through F. And Commissioner Olson.
Second.
We have a second. All right, we have a motion and a second, A through F with all stated conditions. Commissioner Lipke-Pierre.
I'll be supporting all the motions except C. I would very much like to see an added fourth condition that the upper 4 stories along 14th Avenue be set back 10 feet from the first story.
Are you suggesting that as an amendment?
Yeah, if Commissioner Meyer would be willing to consider it, yes. Otherwise, I'll be voting no on that one.
I would say let's have a separate vote on that one.
All right, and so that is on item C. So we'll amend here an amended motion for items A, B, D, E, F, and Commissioner Meyer, would you like to add G, the flat, as well? We have a G hiding.
Yes. Yes. Sorry, I missed
All
G.
right. All right. All right. Commissioner Olson, is there a second to that amended motion?
Yes, I second it again.
All right. Very good. So all items except for item C. Is there any discussion or comments on the motion to approve, consistent with staff recommendations, all items except for item C? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Smiley.
Aye.
Lipke-Pierre.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Sweezy.
Aye.
6-0.
All right, that motion carries. Do we have a motion on item C? Commissioner Lipke-Pierre.
Yeah, I move to approve item C with the added fourth condition that the upper 4 stories along 14th Avenue be set back in 10 feet from the first floor facade.
Okay, so the condition is setting back the upper 4 stories 10 feet from the first floor.
That is correct.
Okay, and if they're already set back 10 feet from the first floor on portions of the building, then that would fulfill that.
Correct.
Okay, is there a second? Commissioner Schrader.
Sure, I'll second the motion.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Meyer.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like how many fewer units would that mean? I don't know if the developer is going to be able to answer that off the cuff, but I mean, is there an estimate of how many fewer people would be able to live in the building if we require that setback?
I'll let the applicant hazard an answer to that.
Sorry, can you hear me? I'm muted.
Yes, we can hear you. Thanks.
Okay. I don't know if we've performed a study of that, but so that would be an additional feet off of. So that's square footage. So yeah, I would say in the neighborhood of maybe 20 beds.
Okay. Yeah, I guess, I think I'm going to vote no on this one, just because, you know, I'd like to enable as many people as possible to live close to transit. So, I mean, that's 20 fewer people who could, and I think that's more important to me than the aesthetic consideration there. So I'll vote no on this one.
Commissioner Sweezy, did you have a comment or no?
No, thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Smiley.
Thank you. I just was kind of wondering with the, since we have bundled the item C of this number 7 with an added 4th condition, a vote yes or a vote no is on all of them. So if you oppose the added condition but agree with the rest, you still have to you still have to vote no.
If you oppose the added condition, then and the motion fails, then we would accept another motion on item C.
Got it. Thank you.
So we're voting. I believe that is right. It says if the motion fails. No, we're voting on the motion with an added condition. That's right. Kimberly or Lisa Clark, could you offer guidance here?
That's correct. So the motion was to approve that item with the added condition. So it wasn't just a motion to add the condition, it was to approve that item with the added condition. So any commissioners who are in favor of adding that condition and everything else that comes along with that motion would vote in favor of the motion. Commissioners who are not in favor of the condition as proposed, which includes that added condition, would vote against the motion, and then an alternate motion would need to be made on that item.
That is the question. An alternate motion may be made on that item after failure of that.
Correct.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Is there any further discussion? All right, so we have a motion before us, which is to approve item C, the conditional use permit for planned unit development, adding a condition to the staff recommendation that the top 4 stories be set back from the street at all points 10, or set back from the first story 10 feet. Clerk, please call the roll.
Smiley?
No.
Lipke-Pier?
Aye.
Meyer?
No.
Olson?
No.
Schrader?
Aye.
Sweezy?
Aye.
That's 3 yeses and 3 nos, so Sam, you need to break the tie on that one.
Aye.
Then it's 4 yeses and 3 nos.
That motion carries, and that concludes our business with item number 7. Next up is item number 9, which is something, once I find my agenda here. Item number 9, 5200 34th Avenue South in Ward 12. Staff is Lindsay. Floor is yours.
Good evening again, Commissioners. The project before you is 5200 34th Avenue South. And I saw the presentation for a moment, but if you can pull that back up. This is at the southwest corner of the intersection of 54th Street East and 34th Avenue South. The site is currently Zone C1 and is occupied by a small single-family home that's been used as office space. The site is just over 7,500 square feet. The applicant has proposed a 3-story mixed-use building with 19 dwelling units and 1,800 square feet of office space. I do believe that there was a typo on the notice that said 29 units. It is in fact 19 units. So next slide. So there are 4 applications required. This is a reverse corner lot. So there are front yards on the north and east side abutting both streets. And if you'll recall, commercial districts only have yard requirements where they are adjacent to residential districts or uses. So this is a relatively small site, and it has residential uses both to the west, located across the alley, and to the south, which means that there is a south interior side yard of 9 feet required, a rear yard of 9 feet required along the west, although that is measured from the midpoint of the adjacent alley. And then there is the reflective front yard setbacks required both on the northwest corner and the southeast corner, where front yards abut residential uses. So there are front yard setback variances required for both of those corners, and then there's a variance to reduce the minimum parking requirement from 22 spaces to 5 spaces in site plan review. Next slide, please. So here's the site. It is located kitty corner from a few other commercial uses, including a hardware store and post office. Next slide. Here's a site plan. So you can see shown here the single-family home to the south and the one across the alley as well. So when we have the reflective front yard setbacks, it requires that for 25 linear feet from the boundary with residential use, that the reflective front yard is, or that the front yard is reflected. So you can see on the building design on the floor plan, they have proposed a notched cutout on that southeast corner where facing 34th Avenue South. So if that were to comply with the requirement in the zoning code, it would be set back that full distance to where the front facade of the adjacent house is, and that would be carried over 25 linear feet from the property line north. And the same would go on that back corner, although for measuring on that northwest corner, that would be measured from the midline of the alley for those purposes. And so just for context, I did an analysis looking at kind of the buildable area and how it is reduced by these front yard setback requirements. And the proposed building covers, I believe, 78% of the lot, whereas if the building was complying with both of these required setbacks, it would reduce the buildable area to 66% of the lot. Next slide, please. Here are the floor plans proposed. So there is a 1,800 square foot office space proposed with frontage on 34th Avenue South, and the 19 units with 1 unit on the ground floor. That's the accessible unit. There are 5 parking spaces and bicycle parking in the garage there. Next slide, please. And then the upper story plan. So there's a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms, and a couple of 2 bedrooms as well. Next slide. And just so this proposed 3-story building, the 3 stories is allowed in the C1 district when the building complies with the mixed use density bonus. So as long as 50% of the ground floor is provided as a commercial space, the building can increase both the floor area ratio by 20% and the height by another half story to allow for the 3 stories in height. So here is the proposed elevations, and the applicant has proposed brick, metal panel, and fiber cement board as the primary building materials. Next slide, please. And this is a submitted rendering looking at the building from the intersection of 52nd and 34th. And next slide. The site guidance is corridor mixed use in corridor 3. Most of 34th over here is the corridor mixed use, which allows for commercial uses. It's kind of our, it's not our lowest commercial district. It's one step up from that. So allowing for more, it's not a huge destination, but it is, serving the surrounding neighborhood for commercial uses. And then corridor 3 allows for 3 stories in height. So the existing zoning and the future guidance in Minneapolis 2040 support the proposal for mixed-use 3-story building here. Staff is supportive of all 3 variances. The reverse corner lot with yard requirements on all sides due to the adjacent residential uses does significantly limit the buildable area. It also limits the available area for parking. While this site, it does not qualify for the transit incentive parking reduction, it does have excellent access to goods and services with a commercial node located just 2 blocks to the north along 34th Avenue South. There are some bus routes in the area, though they are not classified as high frequency. It's about 0.6 mile away from the Blue Line LRT, and the Minnehaha bike trail and other bike facilities are accessible within several blocks of the site. So staff is supportive of the proposal to reduce the required front yard setbacks along 52nd and 34th. In addition, the proposal to reduce the minimum parking requirement is compatible with the guidance in Minneapolis 2040 to eliminate off-street parking minimums. So with that, you can go to the next slide, and staff is recommending approval of the proposal with the conditions stated in the staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Are there any questions for Lindsay? All right. Seeing that at this time, whoever's got their thing unmuted, please mute it. We'll ask the applicant to introduce themselves and add any further context, if necessary. Star 6 unmutes.
Yes.
We can hear you very faintly.
Hello?
Yes, you're faint.
Yep. Great, thanks. This is Joshua with Collage Architect. We would just like to add to Lindsay's great description of the project. Thank you, Lindsay. That this unit, there's 19 total units, and 7 of those units are proposed to be offered at 50% AMI to a organization, NACD, which supports the reduction of veteran homelessness. So we're anticipating, in addition to the great transit or corridor areas, that many of the people we anticipate in the building may not need or want to have a car.
Very good. Thank you for the additional context. Is there anything further from the applicant? Are there any questions for the applicant? All right, hearing none, I'll open the public hearing to the rest of the folks looking to testify. I've got one person listed here, Dawn Pisha. So Dawn Pisha on the line. Please press star 6 to unmute. Dawn Pisha online. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on item number 9? If there's anybody wishing to testify on item number 9, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Make sure you're unmuted on your own device as well. All right. Perhaps we do not have anybody to testify on item number 9. I will close the public hearing, but reopen it if we hear someone come on in the next minute or two. Commissioners, we have 4 applications before us. 2 setback variances, a parking variance, and site plan. Is there any discussion? We're just checking one more time for Don Pisha on the line. All right. Hearing no testimony, Commissioner Meyer.
I will move items A, B, C, and D with the 6 conditions.
We have a motion to approve all applications A, B, C, and D with the 6 recommended conditions by staff. Commissioner Olson.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Smiley,
Aye.
Lipke-Pier,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
5-0.
Very good. That motion carries, and that concludes our agenda for the day. Kimberly, are there any staff updates at the meeting?
Yeah, just a note, we will be discussing this at Committee of the Whole on Thursday, but the 45-day public comment period for the draft build form regulations has started. And there will be some opportunities for the public to participate in some online meetings about the proposed regulations in an online open house format. There's one on September 23rd, one on September 29th, and one on October 7th. That one will be more focused on downtown. So again, we'll be discussing that with the co-development team at Committee of the Whole on Thursday, but wanted to make note of that. They've been working hard at getting everything out for this 45-day comment period, and it's a pretty monumental task, so we thank them for that. And I don't have anything else.
Very good. Thank you for the update. And with that, meeting is adjourned.